Wow, hello, welcome. Come on in, come on in. We are so excited to see all of you. It's just so wonderful to see all your faces, and we're just so grateful that you have an interest in learning more about business school. I'm Karen Conrad Metcalf, and I'm the assistant director of the business school. And we've got Ray Patterson with us today, who's going to lead us through our session, and he is the amazing coordinator. Ray, do you want to greet everybody?
Hello, welcome. We are just delighted to have you on here. If we all get on here, we should have about 70 people.
Wow, that
And
is
I
funny.
know that there will be some who signed up but wouldn't be able to attend, so they'll be able to also get the recording and watch the recording.
Absolutely. And so we will send this link back out to you too, if you want to go ahead and watch it again. And so we can go ahead and get started. In the next slide, we are so thrilled to be working under the leadership of Billy Epperhart. And you all know him. He is the CEO of Andrew Womack Ministries and Charis Bible College, and also the founder of Wealth Builders and Tricord Global, director of the Charis Business School. And many of you know that he is an amazing real estate investor as well. So, one thing that we love about the business school is everybody that's involved is what we call in the game. So, all of us are in the industry. It's not head knowledge, it's actually experience. And I think that is a really, really nice advantage. And of course, everything is on a biblical foundation. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Ray to take us through our presentation today.
Well, welcome everybody. I'm really excited about this. So glad that so many of you have joined to learn more about the business school and the opportunities here. I do want to point out that I expect we're going to have a few people participating today who may not have gone through year one or year two at Charis. And so I do just want to remind people that in order to get to any of the third year schools at Charis, you do have to come through year one and year two. You can do year one all online on your own at home or at an extension campus or here at the main campus or any one of our international locations. And I do expect we may have some people joining us from the international side. Um, but I know that there are a few who've asked to join today who are maybe year one students, and I'm delighted about that because I see you putting yourself in a position to look ahead, and we just welcome you to this as well. So I'm going to start out talking a little bit about the business model canvas, and I'm going to introduce it briefly up front. Then we're going to talk about some of our instructors and then the flow of the year and how that goes. And then I'll come back and touch on the BMGC maybe a little more at the end. And then I want to allow time for questions. And for any of you who have logged on and you see that your name on your screen says guest with a number, you maybe should be able to click on that guest and rename yourself. We'd like you to do that. We would also like you to go into the chat at some point and just put down your name and then where you're joining us from, uh, wherever that is. And if you are extension at an extension campus or international campus, please let us know that as well. So, the business school is really formed and the foundation of it is something called the business model generation canvas. And this is a one-page business plan. It is a tool that's used by literally hundreds of business schools around the country and around the world. It was developed by Alexander Osterwilde and a group of folks internationally to really look at how can we put a good frame on the um, put a good framework around any business idea that you might have. And one of the things that I want to point out with the business model canvas, and I'm hoping that all of you are seeing that at this point, the business model canvas goes against one of the rules of Western style in that um, it doesn't read left to right. I made that mistake of thinking it read left to right. And for the first time after hearing about the canvas, I went back and looked at it and tried to think about it and read it left to right, and it didn't make sense to me. And then all of a sudden, I realized that uh, I went to another meeting actually and heard Billy teach it again, and I heard it again for the first time. And I realized that the business model canvas starts in the middle with the value proposition. And so that's where we begin to look at what is your product or service in your business? Who are you providing that to? Who are your competitors and how are you different from them? And what are you going to price your product or service at? Is it at market price, below market price? Is it above market price because you have a premium product? We have a syntax that we use to teach people how to write the value proposition. But that's where it starts in the middle. And once we get that value proposition, then the next thing that we begin to talk about is the customer segment.
And
Who are who are
right,
your customers?
if I could just jump in too,
Sure,
and
please.
like this isn't necessarily a teaching on the BMGC. We're just
Right.
sharing with you that this is the business model. Every school has got a business model that they follow, and this is what Billy has said that the business school is going to be based on. So throughout the entire year, we always refer back to this business model canvas, and it really sets the foundation for the whole curriculum of the business school. I thought it might be helpful to just share that little overview.
Yes, thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. And I won't go into detail on all of these blocks, but we do go from value proposition to customer segment. Then we can look at channels on how you get to them, how you build relationships. And this area you'll find out is really all about the marketing. And that ends up dropping into the revenue streams. And then the left side of the canvas, the key activities, resources, and partners, is all about your business operations. And then the uh, the bottom part, the cost structure and revenues, are your financials. And so as I bring this out, part of what I'm bringing out is that we have marketing education, different courses in marketing. Karen teaches that phenomenally. Uh, we have courses on business operations. We have courses on finance, understanding the financial statements. And then superimposed kind of behind the canvas is the organizational management teachings, the we look at legal structures, how your business should be um, built from a legal standpoint, and then also IT or information technology and systems, the kind of business processes and what supports that, and teachings around that. Then we also have courses that explore how you do market research to understand your market and also your industry trends that are going on in whatever industry you're in. And so that's where that's just the introduction to the business model canvas and the beginnings of the teachings that we have here.
Yeah, if
Uh,
I could also add to that, many of
Please.
you might be on this webinar and thinking, um, gosh, I think I'm actually called to ministry. How will business school help me? Or how will this business model canvas help me? And I like to look at that business model canvas, and I almost call it like a supernatural one-page business plan, because whether you are actually headed towards owning a business or creating a business, or maybe you feel called to support a business, or if you're doing a ministry, or if you're doing real estate, this is a way to organize all those amazing God ideas, those plans and purposes that God's put in your heart to actually see those dreams have the potential to see what I like to say the light of day, because we can have ideas, we can know where we're going, but this is such a beautiful process and tool that helps organize all those thoughts and bring you through so that on the other end of that, that you're able to do what God has called you to do. Anything you do really does require a business foundation. So I just wanted to encourage you with that. I use this with ministries, I use this with businesses, real estate, and my son Levi went through the business school. He's such an entrepreneur and he's all full of ideas and he just loves it. And my first thing is like, okay, put it on the business model canvas. And he's able to sort it out. So I just want you to know you'll use this over and over and over in your life.
That is fantastic, Karen, and thank you for that. Because what we are teaching here is a tool set that you can apply to evaluate any business opportunity, or, as Karen mentioned, and I like to always emphasize with the business school students, that if you have a business, you also have a ministry opportunity and a ministry if you choose to run your business on the biblical principles that we do teach in business school for that. And if you have a ministry, you need to understand you have a business. So it
Mhm.
is a very useful utility tool to evaluate not only a business, but even an individual project that you're developing or that you've got an idea for. So, excuse me. So I'll proceed on and then uh, as Karen mentioned, we don't teach on the hypotheticals, we don't teach on the theoreticals, we teach on the practical experience. And all of our instructors have already walked the path, some in different industries at different times, different experiences, but it's all relevant experience. And at this point, what I like to interject is that what we're really doing at Charis Business School is we are condensing the practical application knowledge of a 2 year MBA into 9 months. And I say that with confidence because I have a 2 year MBA from an Ivy League school, but I came through business school and I got more relevant application knowledge in 9 months than I did in that 2 years at way less than $100,000, by the way. So we've been there. These are the names of a few of our instructors. You can see there's quite a few names there, including Billy and Karen. Some of you may already be familiar with Colin Carr. He has a nationwide real estate business focused on the medical, the veterinarians, the dentists, the doctors, the ophthalmologist, and he works real estate, commercial real estate for those folks, and in that across all 50 states. I'm not going to go through all of these, but Jeff Vanderwall is another very practical application type guy. He owns ClearShift Auto, but he also owns an AI business. And so he brings that education in. David Briggs, part of the Tricord Global and Wealth Builders. David Gunter is our CEO or CFO, I mean, at the ministry and at Charis, and does large nonprofit type financials. He teaches there. So you see, Bill Bronchek is an attorney that teaches on business law. Dan Dyer, Mike Davis into real estate, Corey Steinke, a wide background, Richard Harris, some legal stuff, um, Justin Erickson and Elizabeth Inman uh, teach on the Myers-Briggs and the Core Values Index. These are assessment tools that we use and we teach you about, because as you're starting a business or running or building your business, you're going to be hiring other people, and it's good to know how to use assessment tools in that space and for that purpose. So I want to talk now a couple of minutes about the flow of the year, starting in August. And we spend the first couple of Oops, let me back up one slide here. Come on. We spend the first week or so looking at those individual assessments, having you go through those, having you learn about those. We're not making you experts in doing them, but we do want you to understand them so that you know how to read them and how it applies to you, and then how you can use those tools when you're working with other people in project groups or even just in class. And then we begin to get into the focused business of teaching the basics in these various areas. And we want you to come to business school with some sort of business idea so that you have a context to wrap that teaching around and make it personal for you. That is extremely important to us, because you're not here to learn theory, you're here to learn the practical application. And the best way to do that is for you to have something to apply it to. So we go deep into the business model canvas, which we just gave you an overview on. We go really deep in that. Trust me, by the time the first term is over, you will know how to draw that in your head, on any whiteboard, on any piece of paper, in the right order, and you will be able to ask people questions about their ideas in that type of environment. Uh, Karen, would you like to add anything to the fall schedule?
Oh, that's great. Ray, I will just brag on Ray a moment because he has gone through and mapped out the progressions really detailed so that your learning experience makes sense. Everything is connected. And so that's been, I think, a really amazing improvement at the business school in the last couple of years. Also, I just want to mention in those beginning times, you really start to form relationships with others in the business school as well. And all these assessments you have, you learn about yourself, you learn about others, and it's really creating a wonderful environment where you not only are learning, but you're connecting with other people that have got that same core interest in learning about how to run things as a business.
Yeah, super. Thank you. So as you see, we do talk about the marketing operations, financials, and then we spend some time looking at in underneath the financials, things like Money Mastery by Billy Epperhart and Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And that helps you understand how you view money and how money works, because money is never static. It wants to flow. It will flow, and we want you to understand that um, as a part of that teaching in those trainings. You see, we have an introduction to Live Plan here, and that is a tool that we give you access to so that in addition to building your business model canvas, you're actually using a web-based service as an application business planning software that helps you put together your business idea pitch and ultimately your business plan. And then right at the end of the term, the end of the fall term, we have you pitching a 5 to 7 minute brief PowerPoint slide pitch about your business idea. And from that, we will then select group projects that you will work on in the spring term. And I want to just, every time I get the chance, I want to emphasize the fact that if your project is not chosen as a group project, that does not mean it's not a good idea. It can be a very excellent idea, but it just may not be the idea that lets us put a team of people around it for you to build out a full up business plan. But if you are working on someone else's team, doing either the chief financial officer or the chief marketing officer job or the chief operations job, we want you to take what you're learning in the group project and come back to your individual project and extend and build your individual business plan so that a year from now, when you're getting ready to graduate, you can walk out with that plan that you can execute on. So that is another key point. The spring term, so over the Christmas holiday, I and a few of the panel members that hear your pitches will be putting together the project teams, and then you will work as a team, and we have the core values index training come back in because now you're working more on team dynamics within that. So we'll announce those team projects and then give advanced teaching on Live Plan and the advanced version of the fall courses so that you're going much deeper as you're building out your group plan and your individual plans. So we talk about things like the role of the C-suite and the leadership role. We get into the dysfunctions of a team and how teams should really operate, advanced marketing, advanced systems and processes, and you have time in class to work as teams, in your teams, to build your final projects. And throughout all of this, we weave in the spiritual and biblical base for every aspect of the business, of any business that you're wanting to get into. And we do spend some time specifically in real estate. That's always complemented by the work that Wealth Builders does. And Billy and Becky have always been very generous for business school students to work and participate with them in the Wealth Builders conferences that are held. Those are extracurricular, not part of the actual curriculum, but it greatly enhances your experience, and that's what we want to do.
Yeah, I also want to add that we've made a really concerted effort to make this a very interactive school. And what I mean by that is it's hard to sit in a classroom and just be talked at for 4 hours a day. And it's also hard to learn these concepts unless you are able to actually apply them and have interaction. So part of what you'll see in the business school is a lot of expressing a concept, going through a training, and then you'll get a worksheet and you'll work out in a group to make sure that you're understanding that concept, and then you'll come to the front and you'll present. So it's a very interactive atmosphere where we want to make sure that you are applying what you're learning so that at the end of the year, you've really got the skill sets that as you move into different areas of your life, that you know how to apply what you've learned to all those situations.
Amen. That is so important. And I'll tell you all, Karen is a master at teaching and then testing and exercising. And so when we talk about the business model canvas as a tool um, for this, it's we get a lot of exercise in that, but then and there's a lot of the business model canvas itself is a tool, but then when we get into operations and marketing, there are other tools and templates and models that we bring in that are uh, teachings that we want you to take with you and teachings that you can deploy in a wide variety of situations. So I've popped up the business model canvas again, just as to reinforce it's the framework the school is built on, but we walk you through it. We teach you about it. We let you, we, we not only let you, we require you to exercise it because that's how you build the muscles for building a business plan and thinking through the various business ideas or projects. And I also want to add this applies whether or not you're thinking about a for profit business or a nonprofit business. It's applicable to any and all situations. So keep that in mind if you're thinking, well, I want to do something in the missions field or I want to do something as a nonprofit and I want to organize my business as that. Uh, Definitely business school is still a place you need to be if you're thinking about those kind of things. So that's really what I wanted to share with you all today. Um, we have some time to do some Q&A, so uh, I don't know if we've got some questions here. You can put some questions in the chat. We will get to as many of those as we can. And that would be a good way to do it. I see Lynn has raised her hand.
Hello, Lynn.
Yeah, Lynn, do you want to unmute yourself? You should be able to, and we'll see what we can answer for you.
Well, I definitely want to do a third year program. My struggle is which one. And so here's where I'm at. Um, I have thought of myself as an entrepreneur for my whole adult life because that's pretty much what I've done, but I've winged it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Known what I was doing. And like right before COVID, I created a membership online. So that got me through the COVID days. And then then I had a lot of traumas, had a fire, my mom passed and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I share that, not for sympathy, but I lost energy
Yep,
for being an entrepreneur. Sorry if I get emotional.
no problem.
But I feel like what I'm carrying as a business, I mean, it has still held me financially.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably not the right word, supported me financially while
Mm-hmm.
I've gone to Charis and through all of that with very little, not a lot of effort on my part. And they tell me that's very unusual because it's like 6 years old now. So I feel like I really have a good business idea, and it's based on a revelation from God. But here's the other part of it is I'm a creative.
Mm-hmm.
And the business is creative. It's called Your Creative Genius. And it's based on training people to be creative and to think creatively.
Mm-hmm.
And and on a really cool revelation. But I'm struggling because I feel like I've lost, even though I've been an entrepreneur forever, I feel like I've just lost energy for it. And maybe I should just get into film and production, which doesn't really fit me at all. Because what I teach is the visual arts and but not to create art. so much as to learn how to think creatively again.
Mhm.
That's great, Lynn. And Ray, how would you answer that?
Well, there's a part of me that would answer that this way, Lynn, that I think part of what you are experiencing is the mundane day-to-day business rather than how can I take this and expand that business, take it deeper, wider, and get that excitement back about what you're doing to support and help other people. So,
Mhm.
in one sense, I see it's a teaching business or potentially a consulting business, something
Mhm.
that could very easily go into working with or for larger corporations that are like the 3Ms of the world, or
Yeah.
organizations that want to beef up their creativity and extend their products and services to others. That's, you and I've chatted a little bit about some of those kind of things in the past. So I would really tell you that that's what I'm hearing and feeling in you, that to get the excitement back, let me get back in the business game, explore that to a deeper level, bring some other people into my business, which will help me gain some excitement. Uh,
That's great, Ray. Thank you so much for that. And Lynn, I hope that's helped you. We've got another question from Sarah. This is a great question. And Sarah says, what can I do if I don't have a business idea? And is it a requirement to enter?
well,
We've
that
got a
is
couple
a
more
very,
questions coming too. Good job, everybody.
yeah, very, very good question, Sarah. I will tell you that I do have a number of applicants to business school who approach me and say, I really want to come to business school, but I really don't have a business idea. And to those, I typically smile warmly and say, well, let's chat for a few minutes and tell me what brings joy into your heart. Tell me what makes you get up out of bed in the morning and say, this is who I am when I'm really on. And when I really feel fulfilled, these are the kind of things that I'm doing. Because my contention is that when we are in God's word and we're stayed on Him and we ask for the joys, the things that we ask for, if they're the joys of our heart, He will give them to us because He put them there in the first place. So He's going to help you with that. And literally, there's only been in 3 years so far, there's only been one person that didn't end up coming to the revelation of what they could really bring into business school as an idea that they could work with. And I don't care if the business idea you leave with is different than the one you came in with.
Mm.
That doesn't bother me at all. But I do want you to have some sort of business idea so that you have a context to wrap the training around, because that makes it real to you, and that way you can understand the training at a different level. And so that's why we want you to come in with an idea. If you're really feeling stuck and you just are saying, man, I really want to come to business school, but I don't have an idea, then I want you to get in touch with me directly. You have my contact info from the emails that we've sent out, and I want to spend a few minutes with you and just talk about what brings you joy. So I think everybody's got a business idea in them, and the one you've got in you is probably better than you ever thought.
Awesome. All right. This is a question from Jeff and Molly Lang. Welcome.
Mhm.
And the question is there a community or resources after graduating from the business school?
Excuse me. Yes, there is. And one of the things that we're working on is beefing that up, getting the alumni connected more with each other. And during the business school, experience, we like to encourage field trips, if you will, to business incubators like the Exponential Impact Center here in Colorado Springs, where you can go watch people pitch business ideas and you can do some networking that way. Um, but there are various connections, and like I said, we are working on bringing in particular, the business school alumni up to be a supportive community for after graduation.
And we're working on something we can't release yet, that is going to actually extend that further. And so there'll be more to come on that. All right. This is a question from Pablo. Welcome, Pablo. Pablo says, does business school go over how to build your organization to make the most of the perks that the law allows you to have? For example, so that we don't pay more in taxes and learn how to protect ourselves. I can answer that, Pablo, and I would say yes, because we definitely have people like Bill Bronchek, who is an attorney and he specializes in that. We've got Richard Harris, that also is an attorney and is there. We've got Dave Gunter, who is a accountant. And I think one of the best things about business school is when Billy comes in, oftentimes he will just do Q&A. And you have an opportunity to, usually the instructors, if somebody has got a question, we stay and wait to answer those questions, or you can set up a meeting with us. But we really do structure things very practically. And so much of what we want to make sure we do is we definitely want to pay taxes, but we want to pay the taxes that we're required to pay. And we help you with how to arrange things. Real estate is a great way to go to help protect that. And Bill Bronchek is the best I've ever heard on protecting your assets. So that's a great question. And thank you so much for submitting that. All right, Lily's got a question here. And she says, for those interested in going into ministry, do you recommend business school as a prerequisite or substitute to ministry school? Ray, I'll let you take that one. That's a tough question, by the way, Lily.
It is. It is. And I would not say that business school is a substitute for ministry school. Let me just be clear with that. It would depend on the type of ministry you feel called into. Just a very quick personal testimony. When I was in high school, I was called to ministry, called into the ministry, but I was immediately told by the Holy Spirit it would not be a traditional pulpit ministry. And what that really set me up for was, from that time forward, everything that I've been in, I have felt I have a ministry opportunity to help spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and the glory of God and His Word. So there are a lot of people that do multiple third-year tracks. And so some will come to business first and then go to ministry. Some will go to ministry first and then realize that what they're called to, they need some more business experience. And so they do 2-3 years. That's quite common. I will tell you that we do have some joint classes between third-year schools. For example, we teach the business model canvas at a very cursory level to ministry school because it's valuable for thinking through how you would do your ministry and your customers and all of that. We also have a number of courses that are joint with Global Training School. So that's the best way I can answer that. Be glad to have a little more in-depth conversation with you on it to help sort that out for anybody who would like.
Great. And we've got another question from Jeff and Molly. This is a very good question. All of these are great questions. I'm just so thankful that you're asking them because they help others too. The question is, if the business idea is not ready to launch, are there career or job opportunities with employers upon graduation?
Well, that's another excellent question. And one of the things that we often counsel on is if you have a business idea, but you've never worked in that space before, say you want to do, maybe you have a real estate idea to do a real estate business, not as a broker or an agent, but as a portfolio manager, and you've never worked with any of that, what we would suggest is, yeah, you can bring that idea, come to business school, but then before you launch your own, come alongside of somebody who's doing something very similar to what you want to do and spend some time with them to get experience in that field. And that goes for other fields as well. If I want to run a machine shop, I want to open a machine shop, but I've never been a machinist, then, we can put together the plans, but you need to have some specific experience in the industry that you're wanting to do your business in. So we encourage that a lot.
Awesome. It's really good to see all your names here too. And I really appreciate you chiming in and letting us know where you're from. Jenny just chimed in that she is from Marietta, Georgia, attending Charis Atlanta. So we're so grateful for that.
And we are so grateful for the extension schools. I particularly have an affinity for them because I did my first 2 years at the Washington, D.C. campus. And then I came out to Woodland Park, my wife and I. Uh, Totally unbeknownst to her, she got called to practical government. So I knew I was in business to raise bail money. And so she ended up running for school board and serves on the Woodland Park School Board.
Bless her heart. She's amazing.
Yeah.
I see Susan from Minneapolis. I'm a Minnesota girl too. Lived there 45 years. I'm headed there this weekend to see my nephew is getting married and see my 93-year-old dad and all my family. So really have a heart for Minnesota. We've got Colleen, welcome from the Phoenix Extension School. Joe is on from Woodland Park. Pablo, you're from Woodland Park. It's wonderful. Sue Lopez, who I know, so good to see you, Sue. Really glad that you're on. And so we've got Julia on from Uganda. Welcome. We've heard from Lynn. So glad to see you from right there in Divide. So hopefully I have given a shout out to everybody. I'm just kind of going back through to see anybody else join us. Sarah, we've heard from Sarah, Lily. Very good. Well,
Yeah. And again, I would encourage any of you, if you have questions, email them in, and we will do our best to get you good and solid answers.
that is so good. Well, we hope this has been helpful for you. One of the things that we did this just so that you had the opportunity to learn a little bit about the school before actually putting in an application. And I've got a couple more questions if we can hang in there. This
Oh,
is
yeah.
Low.
Sure.
Are there any testimonies of past graduates of business school that you could share that would be a benefit for us to hear? That is a great one. Ray, do you want to start out on that one?
Sure. One of the ones I will mention is a student from a couple years ago wanted to finance his business school application or experience. And so he, prior to coming to business school, went and got certified as a mobile RV technician, repair technician. And he came to business school with an idea of building that business out. And he was initially thinking about just he and his family. And during the experience of business school, he walked out of here with a business plan to literally take that business more regionally and potentially nationally as either a franchise or a company owned but training arm to train people in that space. And he's now moved back to Austin, Texas, where he is working on implementing. Uh, Another example I would give, there were two young ladies, sisters, as a matter of fact, who were in business school last year, who had a business already up and running they were called the Digital Asset Sisters, and it was a cryptocurrency teaching business. They weren't actually doing the investing other than for themselves, but they were helping other people. My latest understanding for them, and Karen, you may be a little more up to date than I am, but they've relocated to Florida, and I'm told they have quite the thriving business going on there. So you never know where it's going to go, but there's a lot of businesses that have been launched out of the experience of Charis Business School. Uh,
Jason and Rhonda are current students, and they have got a
Absolutely.
company called the Eden Company. And it's really cool. They create this skincare that is made out of all natural ingredients. And so they had the business coming in, but now what they're doing is their project was chosen. They're learning how to scale it so that they can actually, we get dreams and we see what God has for us and we want to get there, but it takes diligence and stewardship and learning, getting knowledge and understanding to actually be able to apply God's wisdom to see this. And so I think they're a really good example of current business school students that really have stepped through things to really work with the Lord on how to get where He's called them to go. So we have stories after stories with it, and I'll just share with I have a testimony with my son too. He didn't go to traditional school. My parents thought he was crazy. My whole family did. Everyone, that's what you did is you went to traditional college. And when he came out to Charis, he knew he was going to go to business school. He went through the 2 years. So he came out at a very young age and jumped right into, just being a thriving entrepreneur, doing many things. He's an arborist. He's in real estate. He has a construction company. But the beautiful part of this is when my parents really questioned what we were doing. My dad, who is now 93, he says to me, Karen, that was the best decision that you could have made is to have Levi go to Charis Bible College into business school. And so I think that to me as a mom, really touches my heart. And we do see people's lives just being transformed in business school. And they feel like, hey, I can actually take this dream and actually cooperate with the Lord on doing my part to see that vision become reality.
Amen. And we've had businesses flourish internationally. One of the business school graduates from a few years back um, actually has now Farm Uganda. And because of the business school experience, when he went back to his home country, he competed. And Karen, you may know the numbers better than I, but it was multiple
Yeah.
hundreds of different ideas competing for grant money to
It was
build a business. Go ahead, Karen.
it was thousands.
Yeah, and his plan was chosen partly because he had the experience of business school and had a fully built out business plan, and that leads me to one of Billy's many wise teachings that we all have to be reminded of, and that is money is never pursued, or it can be pursued, but you're going to have a hard time with it, and
It's
you probably
attractive.
won't find it. It's attracted, and it's attracted to a good business plan, a good business idea, and you concentrate on that, and the money flows. It's not you concentrate on just getting money, but you concentrate on the good ideas. And
That's
Billy
great.
often says, give me a B or C business idea with an A level plan, and it will get implemented. I can have
So
an A
good.
level idea with a C level plan, and it will not be successful.
It won't see the light of day. Okay, just a couple quick shout outs. We've got Halliday joining us from Cameroon. Welcome, so glad to have you. And we've got Sierra from West Virginia, Alma from Charis at Woodland Park. Welcome. And we've got Deborah, who's joining us from the Charis Cherry Hill, New Jersey Extension School. And we've got a question here from Susan. Susan says, I have started from scratch 2 successful businesses, made good money, both very profitable from day one. Good job. It's awesome. I have a vision from God to develop a very specific ministry. I have significant investments that by 3rd year should be significant. Wondering if real estate might be my business. Does this sound like a good idea? Well, real estate really is a good fit for pretty much everyone and in some capacity. And I think what you're seeing here is the potential of real estate generating income to support your ministry. And we have had several business school students that have got a real estate plan. And I know of several ministers, well-known ministers, that fund their ministry through real estate investments and other investments. So, Susan, I would say that you are definitely thinking in the right pathway. And part of when you come to business school, things become really clear because you're in an environment where, you're really able to take the time to dig into some of these things. So, congratulations. It seems like you are very successful. So, that is really wonderful. Okay, I am just checking to see if I've gotten all of them. Let me look at a sheet. I think we've got one more here. Thank goodness that Zoe is keeping me on track.
Deborah, I think you and I were doing a little phone tag, and I can give you a call right after this Zoom call to answer some of your specific questions about the housing.
Great. Okay, this is a really good question from Sarah. Sarah is asking, what's the difference between business school and global training school?
Very, very good question.
You guys have great questions. This is awesome.
It is. It is. I'm just so thrilled that we're doing this and that we've got the participation. So, Global Training School is really focused on 2 areas. One is missions work, and secondly, or missions type ministry. And the second one is in preparation to become a Charis Extension School coordinator or director. And so that's their main focus, those 2 areas. Business and global training do a lot of joint courses because if you're going to run an extension school or you're going into missions work, you need a little deeper education in business or foundation, I would say. So there are a lot of courses we do together. In business school, we're not so focused on just those 2 areas, missions or becoming a Charis Extension School coordinator. But again, like I said, there are a lot of classes that we have jointly. Business school is more focused on the business aspect of any idea, any desire or calling, where global training is more specific to extension schools and specific mission type work. So be glad to chat with you more on that, but that's the quick answer. And all the schools are good. And I tell everybody that I run into, yes, I'd love to have you in business school, but more importantly, I want you where God's calling you to. So I never get offended if somebody says, well, Ray, I really had a great conversation with you, but I think God's calling me to ministry, film and production, practical government, worship school. I tell them, my answer is I never argue with God, or I try never to, because that never works out well. But I want you where He wants you. So.
That's so good. Thank you so much, everybody. And Ray is just the best coordinator and is always open to a conversation, as you can tell by his answers. So do feel free to reach out, and you've got his email address right there. And then also we've got a QR code, or the link is in the chat. If some of you are like, you know what, I think God's leading me to business school, you can follow that link and fill out that application, and then Ray will reach out to you and have a conversation with you to move you through the process.
Yeah. Super. I might leave with wrap this up with one piece. There are 3 books that we do like you to read. In fact, we require you to read. There's more books you need to read, and we provide many of them, or a few of them. But the Money Mastery book by Billy Epperhart, The Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. So those are good foundational books, not only dealing with money and beginning to understand financial statements, but also beginning to look at organizations, particularly entrepreneurial organizations, where the entrepreneur is typically the technician that gets them started. But if you want to go beyond that, you've got to understand that there are managerial and leadership levels. So there's a ton of great business books. Those 3 are certainly foundational pieces. So
Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Ray, so much for all the great information. I like that Linda's doing the clap. That's so cute. Yeah, we would love to have you in business school. And as Ray said, the most important thing is to do what God is calling you to do. But if you need more information or want to have a conversation, go ahead and email Ray at raymondpatterson@awmcharis.com. Thanks again. God bless you and have an amazing rest of your day.
thank you all. We really appreciate you.